Pixel RPGs are thriving in the indie scene, but most slip past mainstream attention. These games offer depth, creativity, and mechanical brilliance that deserve recognition. No one's recommending them because no one's playing them. That changes now. Classic JRPG inspired by Suikoden and Chrono Trigger, built by the team behind Era Fell. Political intrigue drives the narrative, war brewing between nations, fragile alliances collapsing, and ensemble cast dynamics creating investment in characters beyond just their combat abilities. The sprite work and battle animations are excellent, capturing that PS1 JRPG aesthetic while adding modern polish. Character designs are distinct and expressive. Environments vary from war-torn battlefields to peaceful villages, and the world map evokes that era when traversing continents felt like genuine exploration. Combat is turn-based with combo systems and timing elements that keep battles engaging. Chaining attacks between party members creates powerful combinations, and the TP system for special abilities encourages using signature moves rather than hoarding resources. I loved how it captures PS1J RPG energy while adding modern quality of life improvements. No random encounters. Enemies are visible on maps and can be avoided. Fast travel exists once unlocked, respecting your time. The quest log actually tracks objectives clearly instead of leaving you wandering aimlessly. The story handles mature political themes without becoming preachy. You're watching nations slide toward war through miscommunication, pride, and the kind of systemic failures that feel disturbingly relevant. Characters represent different ideologies, and the game lets them argue genuine philosophical positions. The ensemble cast development is great. Party members have personal stakes in the conflict, backstories that justify their involvement, and relationships that evolve through gameplay. The writing gives everyone personality beyond their combat roles. Some criticize the traditional structure as too safe. It's not revolutionizing JRPGs, but sometimes competent execution of proven ideas beats innovation that fumbles basics. Colorful 2.5D sci-fi adventure RPG blending turn-based combat with platforming exploration across diverse alien worlds. You're traveling between planets, each with unique biomes, cultures, and mechanical gimmicks that keep gameplay fresh. The visual variety is exceptional. Each planet has distinct art direction. Bioluminescent forests with glowing flora, crystalline deserts refracting light in rainbow patterns, mechanical cities built from circuitry and steel. The pixel art is vibrant and detailed, using color palettes that make every environment feel alive and distinct. Combat uses timed inputs for attacks and defense, creating active engagement rather than passive menu watching. You're hitting button prompts during attack animations to maximize damage, timing blocks to reduce incoming harm, and managing action points for special abilities. Party members have unique skill sets, encouraging experimentation with different compositions. It's genuinely optimistic and fun without being shallow or childish. Characters have personality expressed through witty dialogue and expressive animations. The adventure feels joyful, exploring strange worlds, meeting bizarre alien species, and uncovering mysteries that lean into wonder rather than grim-dark cynicism. The platforming integration adds variety between combat encounters. You're jumping across floating platforms, solving environmental puzzles using character abilities, and discovering secrets hidden in exploration-focused sections. That mix keeps pacing dynamic rather than becoming pure combat grind. It respects classic RPG structure while modernizing presentation. The turn-based combat feels familiar, but the timed inputs add skill expression. The world design encourages thorough exploration without punishing players who want to focus on main story progression. Some might find the optimistic tone too light compared to darker sci-fi RPGs. But that cheerful energy is exactly what sets Beyond Galaxyland apart. Dimensional Strikeforce roguelite with tactical JRPG combat, where you're fighting an invading empire across procedurally generated timelines. When you fail, you start over with knowledge carried forward to the next dimension. A Groundhog Day loop where death teaches rather than ends. The adversary system is what makes this special. Enemy commanders aren't just stat blocks. They have names, personalities, relationships, and they remember you across timelines. Kill someone's friend in Dimension 42, and when you meet them again in Dimension 43, they'll hunt you specifically seeking revenge. The reactive AI creates these emergent narratives. Turn-based battles use a timeline bar, showing when everyone acts. The genius is you can delay enemy turns by staggering them with specific attacks, creating combos where you keep pushing opponents back on the timeline, so they never get their turn. Mastering this system transforms combat. Each run generates unique planets with different enemy compositions, challenges, and story encounters. The procedural generation means you can't memorize solutions. You have to adapt strategies based on what the dimension throws at you. Finding synergies between randomly recruited party members becomes the core skill. Visually stunning pixel art layered with modern lighting effects and particle systems makes every attack feel impactful. Character designs blend sci-fi and fantasy beautifully. Cyber Samurai, fighting alongside elemental mages. The animated cutscenes add personality that most roguelites skip entirely, where it demands patience. The roguelite structure means losing runs frequently, especially early before you understand combat nuances. But meta progression unlocks new characters and abilities, while the timeline-hopping narrative makes failures contribute to eventual success. Stunning pixel art adventure mixing Zelda-style exploration with emotional storytelling about a minor and mysterious girl navigating a dying world. What starts as simple premise evolves into meditation on loss, hope, and finding family in apocalypse. The art direction is breathtaking. Every frame could be wallpaper material. Lighting effects create atmosphere that shifts from cozy village warmth to oppressive industrial decay. Particle effects, weather systems, environmental details, animation work, all crafted with care that makes you forget hardware limitations. Gameplay alternates between action-adventure combat and puzzle solving. You switch between characters, using different abilities to progress through environments. John handles combat with melee weapons and bombs, while Sam can squeeze through tight spaces and interact with technology. The environmental storytelling and world building is top-notch. Each town you visit has distinct culture, architecture, and problems. The game takes time, letting you absorb atmosphere rather than rushing toward objectives. You'll spend hours in single locations just talking to NPCs, helping with side activities, and soaking in the melancholic beauty. The pacing is deliberately slow, which divides players sharply. The game also features a game within the game called Earthborn that's fully playable, a complete retro RPG you can spend hours with. But the story meanders, particularly in the middle sections. Plot threads take their time connecting, and the eventual revelations might not justify the build-up for everyone. Combat is functional, but not particularly deep. But the visual artistry and world building create an experience worth seeing. "16-bit style RPG with exploration-focused design where the world gradually opens as you gain new abilities. The enhanced edition polished systems that felt rough in the original release, creating a more refined experience. Beautiful pixel art environments showcase varied biomes, floating islands, ancient ruins, corrupted forests. The attention to environmental detail creates atmosphere that makes exploration rewarding beyond just mechanical progression. You're discovering locations that feel crafted with care rather than procedurally generated filler. Turn-based combat includes crafting systems and skill customization that let you tailor characters to preferred playstyles. The progression feels meaningful because abilities unlock new exploration possibilities alongside combat options. Finding a new movement skill might open previously inaccessible areas filled with valuable loot or story content. The world design encourages backtracking to previous areas with new abilities, creating that satisfying loop where returning to old locations reveals previously hidden paths. Secrets reward thorough exploration without requiring guide consultation for completion. The story explores themes of identity and belonging through characters grappling with their place in a world facing existential threats. The writing handles these ideas without becoming heavy-handed, letting themes emerge naturally through character interactions. Some criticize the traditional structure as safe. It's executing proven ideas competently rather than revolutionizing the genre, which is a valid point. But Era Fell knows its identity and delivers that experience with polish that many more ambitious projects lack. Old-school first-person RPG honoring 90s classics like Might and Magic, built by a solo developer who clearly loves the era when dungeon crawlers demanded players map mentally and experiment without tutorials explaining everything. You create a full party from scratch, choosing races, classes, attributes, skills. The customization offers legitimate variety because different builds fundamentally change how you approach exploration and combat. A party heavy on magic users plays nothing like a physical damage composition, and hybrid builds create unique tactical possibilities. The world is massive, filled with towns, dungeons, wilderness areas, and secrets hidden behind optional content most players will miss. Exploration rewards curiosity. Turn-based combat is traditional and good. Positioning in party formation affects who gets hit. Spell selection matters enormously because mana management is real and enemies have weaknesses that demand adapting strategies. You can feel the respect for player intelligence. The game doesn't hold your hand. Quest directions are vague. Dungeons don't have glowing paths showing where to go, and some puzzles require reading item descriptions or NPC dialogue carefully. You learn through experimentation and failure, which frustrates some, but feels rewarding when solutions click. The presentation is deliberately retro, simple 3D environments, basic character models, UI that looks like it belongs in 1998. Some will bounce off immediately because it doesn't compete visually with modern productions. But if you can look past presentation, there's mechanical depth that justifies dozens of hours. The solo developer keeps updating, adding content, refining systems based on community feedback. That dedication shows someone who cares about creating the dungeon crawler they wanted to play. XCOM meets Darkest Dungeon in a steampunk apocalypse overrun by mutant rats. You've already lost, the capital has fallen, and now you're trying to escape alive while managing a squad one bad decision away from collapse. Grid-based tactical combat feels familiar, like the cover mechanics, Overwatch positioning, line of sight calculations. But survival twists create constant pressure. Weapons overheat after specific shot counts, forcing risk assessment on every trigger pull. You can attempt that fifth shot on a 4-shot cannon, but if it backfires, you'd better hope there's time before that rat sniper gets his bearings. Scavenging mid-mission is mandatory because resources never stretch far enough. Rat hordes spawn periodically regardless of your situation, punishing slow play. You're constantly choosing between grabbing supply crates or maintaining defensive formations. Knowing either choice could get someone killed. The bunker phase between missions is where impossible choices happen. Who gets the last medkit? Should you repair weapons or upgrade them? Characters develop fears based on experiences, get ambushed in dark corners, and they might panic whenever shadows appear, ignoring orders to spray inaccurate fire. Fusion cores exemplify the design. Use one as a powerful explosive to clear 5 rats, but then you lose the means to open bunker doors that let you tend injuries. Every resource has multiple uses, and choosing wrong cascades into disaster. Built by a solo Polish developer over 5 years, The pixel art shows meticulous detail. Victorian steampunk environments, weapon designs showing visible upgrades, character animations conveying personality despite limited frames. This is a horror RPG inspired by Sweet Home and Earthbound's darker moments. What initially appears as simple pixel art adventure reveals itself as body horror nightmare, where cosmic dread lurks beneath every conversation. The atmosphere is oppressively dark from the start. You're exploring environments that feel wrong, distorted architecture, unsettling ambient sounds, NPCs whose dialogue hints at corruption beneath surface normalcy. The game builds dread through environmental storytelling rather than jump scares, creating tension that compounds as you progress deeper. Combat blends turn-based RPG mechanics with survival horror resource management. Healing items stay scarce, enemies hit hard, and encounters drain supplies you desperately need for progression. The difficulty forces careful engagement rather than rushing through fights, reinforcing vulnerability central to cosmic horror tone. It's committed to disturbing imagery and themes, grotesque enemy designs, body horror transformations, and narrative beats that refuse softening edges for accessibility. This isn't family-friendly adventure. It's designed to unsettle, drawing inspiration from Lovecraft's cosmic indifference and Japanese horror games' willingness to show disturbing content. The pixel art serves the horror effectively. Limited visual fidelity forces imagination to fill gaps, making disturbing implications worse than explicit detail could achieve. It might lose you in the unrelenting bleakness and horror focus. But for fans of cosmic horror and games willing to make players genuinely uncomfortable, Look Outside delivers atmosphere most horror RPGs avoid. It's embracing darkness completely. Japanese RPG from 1989. This is gaming archaeology, experiencing a piece of RPG history that Western audiences missed entirely. The story focuses on a young dragon living among humans after losing his memories. The emotional core revolves around friendship, sacrifice, and the inevitable conflict between different species when war looms. For a game from 1989, the writing tackles surprisingly mature themes about identity and belonging. The turn-based combat is traditional, menu-driven, party-based, with magic and physical attacks functioning exactly as you'd expect from that era. Random encounters happen frequently. Bosses require proper preparation, and difficulty spikes punish underleveled parties. It's not revolutionary mechanically, but it's competent for the period. Where Emerald Dragon stands out is the sprite work and art direction have aged gracefully. Character designs are charming. Environments vary enough to stay visually interesting, and the emotional moments land despite limited animation frames. The music is genuinely memorable, melodies that stick with you beyond the playthrough. The historical significance matters here. This was influential in Japan, inspiring developers who went on to create later classics. Experiencing it now provides context for understanding how JRPGs evolved from the 8-bit to 16-bit era, showing what storytelling techniques and mechanical ideas were being explored. But the pacing drags by current standards. Random encounter rates are high. Dungeons feel padded, and the lack of quality-of-life features means lots of backtracking and menu management. The fan translation is functional, but occasionally awkward. Still, Emerald Dragon deserves recognition as a piece of RPG history. It's not going to blow your mind mechanically, but it offers glimpse into what Japanese developers were creating and is worth experiencing for anyone interested in genre evolution. First-person dungeon crawler steeped in Lovecraft horror, where sanity management matters as much as health. You're exploring a massive underground complex filled with cosmic dread, ancient secrets, and creatures that shouldn't exist. The atmosphere builds oppression through environmental design and sound. Dark corridors stretch endlessly. Unsettling ambient audio suggests presence just beyond sight, and the architecture itself feels wrong. Angles that don't make geometric sense, spaces that seem larger inside than outside. The game uses cosmic horror's fundamental principle. What you don't fully see or understand is more terrifying than explicit reveals. Turn-based combat demands tactical thinking because enemies are genuinely dangerous. Party positioning affects who gets targeted. Spell management requires careful resource allocation, and healing items stay scarce enough that every fight carries risk. The sanity system adds psychological horror layers. Witnessing cosmic abominations, exploring forbidden areas, and using certain abilities all drain sanity. As it drops, negative effects accumulate. Hallucinations affecting gameplay, stat penalties, eventually complete mental collapse if you push too far without rest. Managing this alongside traditional health creates constant tension. The game commits in refusing to fully explain the cosmic horror elements. Lore fragments hint at larger truths. Environmental details suggest terrible histories, but the narrative never provides complete answers. That ambiguity respects Lovecraft's philosophy that full comprehension of cosmic truth leads to madness. The difficulty spikes can feel unfair. Some puzzles are obtuse, requiring trial and error that frustrates players expecting clear direction. But for fans of cosmic horror and challenging dungeon crawlers, Cyclopean delivers atmosphere and mechanical depth that most horror RPGs avoid. First-person dungeon crawler meets boomer shooter, blending fast-paced combat with exploration and light RPG progression. This is what happens when you take classic Hexen-style action and add modern sensibilities about level design and player agency. The retro pixel visuals with modern effects create this hybrid aesthetic. Chunky, low-poly models and pixelated textures enhanced by dynamic lighting and particle systems. It looks deliberately old-school, but moves with contemporary fluidity that makes combat feel responsive rather than clunky. Combat feels very arcade in the best way. You're slinging spells in real time, dodging projectiles, and managing mana resources while exploring interconnected dungeons. The spell variety keeps encounters fresh. Fireballs for direct damage, ice for crowd control, lightning that chains between enemies. Learning when to use which spell based on enemy types and situations creates tactical depth without overwhelming complexity. The level design rewards thoroughness. Secret areas hide throughout dungeons, some requiring specific spells or creative thinking to access. Finding hidden rooms filled with powerful items or lore fragments justifies careful exploration rather than rushing toward objectives. The RPG progression is lightweight but meaningful. You're finding better gear, unlocking new spells, and increasing stats that affect combat effectiveness. The systems support the action-focused gameplay without demanding spreadsheet management or build optimization paralysis. What makes this work is understanding what it wants to be. Wizardom isn't trying to be a pure dungeon crawler or a pure shooter. It's blending both into something that plays fast but rewards exploration. Some might want deeper RPG systems or more complex combat mechanics, but that would compromise the accessibility that makes it enjoyable for extended sessions without cognitive overload. Action RPG with a meta-narrative layered alongside fast-paced combat that demands actual skill rather than stat-checking encounters. The combat system is genuinely challenging. You're dodging projectiles in real time, managing cooldowns, switching between ranged and melee modes, and using elemental alignment strategically. Boss fights require pattern recognition and execution precision that feels closer to bullet hell shooters than traditional RPGs. The puzzle integration is exceptional. Dungeons feature environmental puzzles that use your combat abilities creatively, like ricocheting projectiles off walls to hit switches, timing platforming with enemy attack patterns, manipulating ice and fire elements to create pathways. The pixel art is gorgeous with incredible attention to environmental detail. The world feels alive with NPCs following schedules, dynamic events triggering based on progression, and secrets hidden everywhere, rewarding thorough exploration. The story explores themes about identity, consciousness, and what it means to exist inside of virtual space. The narrative tackles it without becoming pretentious, balancing philosophical questions with genuine character moments. But the puzzle complexity might be too much. Some environmental puzzles require trial-and-error experimentation that frustrates players expecting smoother pacing. The combat demands reflexes and strategic ability usage that turn-based RPG fans might find unwelcome. But crosscode rewards persistence. Mastering the combat creates this flow state where you're perfectly dodging, countering, and chaining abilities. The world is massive with secrets justifying dozens of hours beyond the main story. Traditional class-based RPG with Game Boy Color-inspired aesthetics that embraces turn-based combat and party customization over open-world exploration. You're building a team from scratch, choosing from over 30 classes, each with distinct abilities and progression paths. The retro visual style deliberately evokes handheld RPG nostalgia. Limited color palettes, chunky sprites, simplified UI that recalls the constraints of GBC hardware. That aesthetic choice creates charm while keeping focus on mechanical depth rather than visual spectacle. Combat is pure turn-based tactical decision-making. Party composition matters enormously because classes synergize in specific ways. Positioning isn't a factor here. It's about ability timing, resource management, and exploiting enemy weaknesses through smart class combinations. The depth comes from understanding how your 5-person party skills interact rather than movement-based tactics. What makes this work is the class variety and build experimentation. With 30-plus classes available, you can create wildly different party compositions that fundamentally change how encounters play out. A team heavy on magic users approaches battles completely differently than physical damage dealers or support-focused builds. Random encounters exist, grinding is sometimes necessary for progression, and the difficulty doesn't apologize for punishing poor party composition. That old-school philosophy won't appeal to everyone, but creates satisfying depth for players who embrace it. Some will love the nostalgic simplicity, while others find it visually limiting compared to modern pixel art standards. Fair criticism either way. It's deliberately retro rather than trying to compete with contemporary indie RPG visuals.